The first time, let's be awkward together. Because I am a lover of discourse, the women of the city, rather than nature and the countryside, are my teachers. Plato. With the current trend of books like 50 Shades of Grey hitting the top selling lists, you would think we would all just throw each other in cuffs, a blindfold, and have mind-blowing sex the minute tensions arise. But like that book, life is filled with typos and awkward moments. For me, that first sexual encounter always brings with it a level of anxiety. I'm not talking run out of the room or curl up into a corner anxiety. I'm talking about having no idea beyond the few text interactions leading up, perhaps social media stalking and subsequent date, drinks, lighthearted conversations we have had, what the person in front of me actually likes, dislikes, or gets turned on from, and if they care what turns me on. I've always, since a very young age, raised with 5 sisters and hearing their horror stories of dates, made it a mission to be in control of my body, emotions, and sexual prowess. In short, I want to please the person in front of me. I didn't want to be so selfish that it brought someone to tears. So I tend to put this first interaction before myself more often than not. I will be the first person to say, I have had difficulty performing the first time many times. Not because I'm not extremely attracted to the person, but because I find many people, when you first dive into this part of the relationship, get closed off and quiet. Shit, even typing about a first sexual encounter makes me question how it will come off to the general populace. Will I be judged for having sex on the first date or 10th? Will I be judged for not being able to perform? Will you just think I am broken or a player? Regardless, I'm going to tell you what it is like for me and then what it is like the second time, even if that second time is only a half hour later. The first thing I do is gauge the lighting. I find that depending on the person, the lighting is super important. Some want to see what they are unwrapping in front of them, and others want it to be a classical, lights off, closed eyes kissing first time. I listen to their breathing while we kiss, watch the corners of their mouths as each kiss restarts over and over, and looking for that curl upward in the side of their mouth, a smile. You can hear more about that in my podcast, The Two-Face Theory. I keep my eyes, contrary to social acceptability, open majority of the time to see if the other person will make eye contact. I find the face of someone at that close proximity in what could only be described as a broken down boundary to be beautiful. We can fall for someone at a distance or a 5-foot safety, but that close, the face becomes a new thing to look at, enjoy, and breathe in. I love catching their eyes, having that moment where both I and they close them quickly, almost embarrassed. But even more, I love when the gaze gets locked. It helps to turn this very strange first exploration not only physical, but emotional. That is something that is so hard when you first begin any physical exchange with someone, is understanding that much deeper level of emotion. Sex is intense, and it does change things. I don't care who you are. And what guys seem to never admit is they are much more subject to this kind of emotional attachment from sex than women are. For some men, it's a territorial thing. Some, it's intimacy. And for some, it's just a mixture of both. For me, it's about the connection and not being positive it is a mutual feeling yet. And I don't expect it to be clear that first time. Obviously, if we're sharing this intimate moment with each other, I expect it to be consensual, but there's still that doubt. Will it work? Will we like it? Will we like each other? Is it going to be great? Is it going to be terrible? That kind of thing. Are your hands on my back holding me tighter because you're nervous or you want me closer? How do you gauge what your emotional level is at that point anyway? Easy answer, you don't. I don't care if you're someone with a 3-date rule, 10-date rule, marriage rule. Sex is so damn personal. There are no sets of guidelines and conversation leading up to it that make it go smooth. Sure, you may be able to be dominant or submissive right off the bat, but there is a connection we all strive for that is mutual. When we let our guard down and don't play a role, things become scary. And this is why sex is scary for me at first. I am emotional. I love romance. However, I have been a dominant Leo all my life. Since I could first get it up, I always found some sort of forms of BDSM extremely sexy. Nothing in the self-depreciating world, but the whole tied down blindfolds, outfits, shiny outfits, and things that just spice the act up. I may not be a certified Dom and definitely too shy without the right trust to say the right things, but I am extremely observant and have learned quite a bit on my own. I naturally fall into the in charge role of many given situations, sex being one of them. To have a partner in crime who is comfortable makes me comfortable, opening up the gate to a whole lot more. This allows me to stop trying to just please, but to be present in the moment with them together. But my big secret is that since I knew what a wet dream was, I was a quote unquote submissive mindset. Let me define this better. I love to not have to control everything. I love for someone to be strong and be able to help guide me a bit or take control of the situation, not because I want to be dominated or a submissive, but because I find it really sexy when the person I am with has put in the same amount of time and effort to learn about what makes the opposite sex, boiling down to their partner happy in bed. I find it captivating when there is a balance of give and take. I will have my jaw break before I give up on figuring out what pleases you, so why should I expect less in return? Should I just accept the female/male power dynamic of women can hold out on sex to control their man? What century are we in? To have to put the same amount of thought and research into the male body as I have to the female seems fair to me. I'm 40 and still learning new things. So how can you, as a woman who knows your body is different than others and will often admit it openly, then turn around when something you do doesn't work on me and say, but it worked on the last guy? I don't want you to pull away because I can't get off after X minutes like your ex and you feel depreciated or belittled. I am a new person. This is a new chemistry, and I'm taking it all in. It is beautiful, and it should be overwhelming. But why am I even talking about this when I'm talking about first encounters? Well, it all ties into the idea that you just don't know that first time. You don't know if you should pull the hair or caress it. You don't know if you lock eyes if they will think you are getting too involved subconsciously and reel back from intimacy. So to even get to the more inner expression of desire, I muddy my way through every bit of emotion I can get my hands on. It doesn't matter how often you talked, how many times you met, or what you discussed prior. It is beautifully messy. It's so prehistoric, all men care about is performance, but they have an appendage that doesn't work if they are worried about performance. A quote from Love and Other Drugs. Anyway, after all of this, you are usually fooling around for a certain amount of time before you actually engage in some sort of sexual intercourse. So now my mind is thinking about 10 gazillion things. Your body language, your breath, your gaze, your emotes, the fucking lighting, all while trying to keep my little guy ready to go. Even talking about it makes me laugh out loud. There is no way to do this smoothly unless you have the ego of a Neanderthal and are just there to get your fuck on. Add to that the worry that the person you are with will feel rejected if it takes you a moment after the foreplay to regain your manliness, and it is just a rock-hard formula for disaster. The sex itself is also an exploration. I have actually taught myself to be more vocal so the person I am with knows more about what feels good. But even then, the first time, all I can think of is, I don't want to disappoint them. I want them to orgasm and feel good, but sometimes it comes at a small cost of exhausting my own ability. And without the mutual give and take on their end afterwards, I'm left wanting. When I meet the person who puts in the extremist amount of effort that I do and doesn't quote unquote give up or get inside their head about what to do next to the point of self-depreciating paralysis, I will have met my sexual match. I want to exhaust myself the first time with a smile on my face because I know the next time I have so much more awareness and so much more emotional attachment. Yes, I know, emotional attachment, scary. The best experience I have ever had was when the person I was with laughed during the awkward moments. They knew it was okay to be messy. It was okay to be scared. It was okay to have anxiety. It is amazingly fun to explore the other person, to ask awkward questions, to look to please the person you are hoping to see again and again. It is fun to touch the parts that have been covered up all night. It's fun to pull back for a moment and just look. And it's nice to start with the lights on to see what you wanted to see for however long it has been before getting to this point. So, yes, I am not perfect the first time, but the second time, which could literally be after I go pee and relax for half an hour. Now I've heard your moans, I have touched your body, I'm intrigued by your sexual look. I want to feel you again, and all of this lifts a huge amount of that first time pressure and allows you to just be more in the moment, but more connected at the same time. I got to see what you are like. It can be equated to the simplest form of intimacy, the first kiss. After the first kiss, you know something really important about your partner. You know they are interested in you too. And then when you pull about a foot away from them, open your eyes, giggle a little, you just start making out as if you never kissed another person in your life because it feels good. And the first kiss allowed the floodgates to open, physically and emotionally validated. The person you are with now is now partly closer to fulfilling the possible meets the parents question. Off the first kiss? Yes, off the first kiss. I don't care what anybody says. If you are actually looking for a relationship, open to dating, and want more than one night stand, your mind will subconsciously run every scenario of the future it can, even if that subconscious moment is a nanosecond in between pursed lips. So, I am here, stumbling through my love life, and okay with it. Those imperfections, that struggle, that is what makes it worthwhile. Those moments when you get a tiny bit of validation, confirmation, two minds as one, and you literally smile from the inside out. I may have a moment where I'm a stallion, or a moment when I'm a broken mare, but each moment is beautiful for what it is, sharing an intimacy with someone you hope will share it back. And each day that intimacy turns more into familiarity. That face when you are so close your noses touch becomes something you wish you could get a prescription glass to see it more clearly. And that person becomes something who will look at you and think, it is okay to tell them about my 51st shade of gray. And it makes it so that familiarity doesn't become stagnation or routine or a power play. Call it what you will, lovemaking, fucking, first times, last times, they all are a part of a process. I was once told through a message on my dating profile, this guy is a little too honest. I used to be that honest. When did that become a bad thing? See, we set rules and guidelines based on social norms, the news, our friends' experiences, disconnected but well-intentioned advice from those around us, a revolving inspiration meme on Instagram or a YouTube video explaining how to fill in the blank, but we forget it is nothing more than someone else's experience. I make sure to apply my own needs, wants, insecurities, and awkward laughter to the person in front of me. Not the idea of what is happening, but what is actually happening. I don't know how not to be myself, and that often scares me. A quote from 7 Letters to a Young Poet: that something is difficult is one more reason for us to do it. So should it happen, and we get there, I look forward to our first time, where we will be awkward together.